Hello everyone, this is part 7 of What If Naruto Uchiha joins the Olympians, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
It was evening, and our three demigods and Sata were front of a bookstore, Grover said in surprised tone. Annabeth stared at Naruto. Naruto, what are we doing here? She asked. This bookstore is going to help us, Naruto said as he entered in the store and other walked in behind him. After entering the store, Naruto asked the person working there, do you have any book about LA? Yes, person said. He gave the book to him. Naruto took the book and gave him money. Why you need this book? Percy asked. I will tell you later, Naruto said. Just follow me. The group walked out of the store. They made their way through the crowded street to a dark alley. Naruto saw there was no one around. Percy, you did ask me about my teleportation, right? Naruto asked and Percy nodded. I can teleport anywhere I want, but to teleport there I want the exact location of that place. To find a location I do follow energy signature or imagine the place where I want to go. Then he opened the book and flipped its pages back and forth. This book has all information and few pictures of LA. He held book front of them and showed him a picture. We are going here. Santa Monica's beach, Annabeth said. Naruto nodded and made some hand gesture to bend time-space. Then a portal opened up which had images of a Santa Monica's beach inside it. What is this? Percy asked in a surprised tone. My new teleportation technique, Naruto said. Let's go and don't do anything stupid, if you don't want to lose forever in different dimensions. How many times you have used this? Grover asked in a nervous tone. This is the second time, Naruto said as he disappeared into the portal. What? Grover looked at Annabeth and Percy and asked nervously, he is kidding, right? I don't know, Annabeth said. She and Percy entered into the portal. With that Grover became more nervous. Now or never, he said to himself. He closed his eyes and stepped in the portal. You can open your eyes. Grover heard Naruto's voice. He opened his eyes and saw he was in Santa Monica's beach. It looked exactly the way LA beaches do in the movies, only it smelled worse. There were carnival rides lining the pier, palm trees lining the sidewalks, homeless guys sleeping in the sand dunes, and surfer dudes waiting for the perfect wave. Thank God. I am safe, he shouted. Whatever Grover, let's go, Naruto said. As they walked down to the edge of the surf, Annabeth asked, Naruto, you can sense energy signature, right? Naruto nodded. So can you sense Zeus Master Bolt energy? No, Naruto said. Percy asked, why? Because I haven't seen Zeus Master Bolt before nor I know its energy signature, Naruto said. He turned to Annabeth. And do you really think someone who had stolen it is an idiot? He or she would have already taken all necessary precautions for that so no one can find it. I never thought about that, Grover said. So what now? Annabeth asked. It was sunset and the Pacific was turning gold in the setting sun. I have no clue, Naruto said, but I think Percy might have. He pointed to Percy, who was walking in the water. Percy, Annabeth said. What are you doing? But Percy didn't stop walking. You know how polluted that water is. There are all kinds of toxic. He just ignored her as he went underwater. Don't worry about him, Annabeth, Naruto said. He is the son of the Poseidon. It's his father element. Zero with Percy zero. Percy felt something rub against his leg. Looking at down, he saw 5-foot-long mako shark. But the weird thing was that it wasn't attacking on him. It was nuzzling him like a dog. Percy touched its dorsal fin. It bucked a little, as if inviting him to hold tighter. He grabbed the fin with both hands. It took off, pulling him along. The shark carried him down into the darkness. He noticed surface was 150 feet above him. I should have been crushed by the pressure, Percy thought. Then again, I shouldn't have been able to breathe. Then he saw something glimmering in the darkness below, growing bigger and brighter. A woman's voice like his mother said, Percy Jackson. As she got closer, her shape became clearer. She had flowing black hair, a dress made of green silk. Light flickered around her, and her eyes were so distracting beautiful. She was riding the stallion-sized seahorse. She dismounted. The seahorse and the mako shark whisked off and started playing something that looked like tag. The underwater lady smiled at him. You've come far, Percy Jackson. Well done. Percy wasn't quite sure what to do, so he bowed. You're the woman who spoke to me in the Mississippi River. Yes, child. I am a Nereid, a spirit of the sea. It was not easy to seem so far upriver, but the Naiads, my freshwater cousins, help sustain my life force. They honor Lord Poseidon, though they do not serve in his court. And, you serve in Poseidon's court. She nodded. It has been many years since a child of the sea god has been born. We have watched you with great interest. Suddenly Percy remembered faces in the waves off Montauk Beach when he was a little boy, reflections of smiling women. Like so many of the weird things in his life, he had never given it much thought before. If my father is so interested in me, he said, why isn't he here? Why doesn't he speak to me? A cold current rose out of the depths. Do not judge the Lord of the Sea too harshly, the Nereid said. He stands at the brink of an unwanted war. He has much to occupy his time. Besides, he is forbidden to help you directly. The gods may not show such favoritism. Even to their own children. Especially for them. The gods can work by indirect influential only. That is why I give you a warning, and a gift. She held out her hand. 3 white pearls flashed in her palm. 0 with Naruto and others 0. Grover and Annabeth were waiting for Percy while Naruto was sitting on ground in meditation. What's taking him so long? Grover asked. Don't worry, he will be fine, Annabeth said. Naruto opened his eyes, and said, Percy, he is coming here. He stood up and saw Percy emerged from the water. He was already dry. Percy, what happened there? Grover asked. Percy told Naruto, Grover and Annabeth what had happened, and showed him the pearls. Interesting, Naruto said. Annabeth grimaced. No gift comes without a price. Percy said, they were free. No. She shook her head. There is no such thing as a free lunch. That's an ancient Greek saying that translated pretty well into American. There will be a price. You wait. We can talk about it later, Naruto said. Percy, give me the address. Annabeth asked in confusion, which address? Underworld's address, Percy informed them. You have Underworld's address, Grover said in surprised tone. We got it from Auntie M's Garden Gnome Emporium, Percy said, and he gave an address to Naruto. Naruto took address from him. DOA Recording Studios. West Hollywood, California. Annabeth said, we are going to. Quote. Hollywood, Grover said. Our 3 demigods and Satyr were in Hollywood. Percy, Annabeth and Grover were wearing new clothes which they had got from the Ares' backpack. Naruto was in his same outfit. They wandered for miles on foot, looking for DOA. Nobody seemed to know where it was. It didn't appear in the phone book. Percy froze in front of an appliance store window because a television was playing an interview with somebody who looked very familiar to him, his stepdad, Smelly Gabe. He was talking to Barbara Walters, if he was some kind of huge celebrity. She was interviewing him in their apartment, in the middle of a poker game, and there was a young blonde lady sitting next to him, patting his hand. A fake tear glistened on his cheek. He was saying, honestly, Ms. Walters, if it wasn't for Sugar here, my grief counselor, I'd be a wreck. My stepson took everything I cared about. My wife, my Camaro. I'm sorry. I have trouble talking about it. There you have it, America. Barbara Walters turned to the camera. A man torn apart. An adolescent boy with serious issues. Let me show you, again, the last known photo of this troubled young fugitive. It was the same photo of his which had taken in bus. Your stepdad is a good actor, Naruto said from beside him. If you want, I can send him in another dimension forever. You can do that? Percy asked hopefully. Yes. Come on, Grover said. He hauled Percy away before he could say anything. Percy, for your kind information, my offer still stands, Naruto said. It got dark, and hungry-looking characters started coming out on the streets to play. Percy was a New Yorker. He hadn't scared easy. But LA had a totally different feel from New York. In New York, everything seemed close. It didn't matter how big the city was, you could get anywhere without getting lost. The street pattern and the subway made sense. There was a system to how things worked. A kid could be safe as long as he wasn't stupid. LA wasn't like that. It was spread out, chaotic, hard to move around. It wasn't enough for LA being big, it had to prove it was big by being loud and strange and difficult to navigate, too. Percy didn't know how they were ever going to find the entrance to the underworld by tomorrow, the summer solstice. They walked past gangbangers, bums, and street hawkers, who looked at them like they were trying to figure if they were worth the trouble of mugging. This place has filled with a lot of negative emotions, Naruto though. They hurried past the entrance of an alley, a voice from the darkness said, "Hey, you." They stopped. Before they knew it, they were surrounded by a group of thug, who appeared from the alley. There were 6 of them. Instinctively, Percy tried to uncap Riptide, but Naruto held his hand. "I will handle them," he whispered in his ear. Then he looked at thugs and said, "Get lost. Kid, you are here surrounded," said one thug. Clearly he was leader. "Now give us all your money." "How about no?" Naruto said. "Then we are." He was about to tell them what they were going to do with them when suddenly everything froze. Annabeth noticed that except them nothing was moving. "What happened to them?" she asked. "Don't worry about it, I will handle them," Naruto said. "Now go." "But, he is right," Annabeth, Grover said. "Let's go." Annabeth and Percy ran from there. Naruto looked at thugs and everything went normal. Leader found the only Naruto front of him. "Hey," he said, "where are your friends? You don't need to know. Tell me." Leader shouted. He walked front, "If you are not." He raised his hand that already curled into a fist and he was ready to punch him, but Naruto grabbed his hand. "You would be useful to me in the future," Naruto said, and he absorbed him in his personal dimension. Thugs saw their leader disappeared in some kind rap hole. "Where is J. John?" one thug asked. Naruto didn't say anything. Thugs took out his gun and fired at Naruto. Naruto caught the incoming bullet between his index and middle finger. "Pathetic," he said. He then casually flicks the bullet back. The thug was caught off guard as a bullet hit directly into his heart. He was dead on the spot. Other thugs were now scared. They took a step back in fear. Who are you?" one thug asked fearfully. "Your death," Naruto said coldly. "Aha. 0 with others 0. Aha. What was that?" Grover asked. "I don't know," Percy said. "And I don't want to know." They raced down the street, not knowing where they were going. They turned a sharp corner. "There!" Annabeth shouted. Only one store on the block looked open, its windows glaring with neon. The sign above the door said something like Krusty's Watrebdealpace. Krusty's Waterbed Palace. Grover translated. They burst through the doors. "What about Naruto?" Grover panted. "He is Naruto. He will be fine," Percy said. A voice behind them boomed, "What are you doing here?" They all jumped. Standing behind them was a guy who looked like a raptor in a leisure suit. He was at least 7 feet tall, with absolutely no hair. He had gray, leathery skin, thick-lidded eyes, and a cold, reptilian smile. He moved toward them slowly. His shirt was silk paisley, unbuttoned halfway down his hairless chest. The lapels on his velvet jacket were as wide as landing strips and the silver chains around his neck. "I'm Krusty," he said, with a tartar yellow smile. Percy resisted the urge to say, "Yes, you are. Sorry to barge in," he told him. "We were just, browsing." The man nodded and said, "You want to look at a water bed?" Percy was about to say no, thanks, when he put a huge paw on his shoulder and steered him deeper into the showroom. "I have a very bad feeling about this, Annabeth though." 0 with Naruto 0. Naruto was standing front of dead bodies of the thugs. "Weak," he said to himself. "You are truly your father's son," a female voice said. Naruto looked at voice direction. The first he saw a very beautiful woman with long black hair in a very high-class looking dress. The second was a tall man with sharp-looking eyes, black hair, and was in a midnight black business suit. The man looked at thugs' dead bodies and said, "You know the heroes are forbidden from killing mortals." "I know, but I am not a hero," Naruto said. He turned his head towards dead bodies. "Amaterasu." With that black fire started to burn the bodies. "So who are you two?" The woman smiled at Naruto and said, "Hello Naruto, I am Nixon, this is my husband, Erebus." "Technically, we are your grand-uncle and grand-aunt," Erebus said. "Nice to meet you," Naruto said. "But why are you two here?" "We came here to see you. The deities have great interest in you, which is mostly because you are not like other they have seen," Nix said as she and Erebus put a hand on either shoulder and Naruto glowed for a moment. "This is a gift from us." And this from Gaia to you, Erebus said as ball of yellow light came out from his palm and disappeared in Naruto's body. Thanks, Naruto said. Nyx came forward and hugged him. It is no problem. We are always watching you, Naruto, Erebus said. Goodbye, Naruto, Nyx said. One last thing, hurry up, your friends, they are in danger, Erebus said, and they disappeared in darkness. Let's find them, Naruto said to himself. He concentrated to find his friends' energy. Found them. He disappeared into the swirling of vortex. Zero with Percy and other Zero. Ropes sprang from the sides of the bed, lashing around Annabeth and Percy, holding them to the mattress. Grover tried to get up, but ropes sprang from his black satin bed, too, and lashed him down. "And not CC cool," he yelled, his voice vibrating from the million-hand message. "And not see cooler at all." The giant looked at Annabeth, then turned to Percy and grinned. "Almost, darn it." Percy shouted, "Let me go." "Oh, sure I will. But I got to make all of you fit, first." What do you mean? All the beds are exactly 6 feet, see? You all are too short. Got to make you all fit. Percy, Annabeth and Grover kept struggling. Can't stand imperfect measurements, Krusty muttered. Ergo. A new set of ropes leaped out from the top and bottom of the beds, wrapping around Percy, Grover and Annabeth's ankles, then around their armpits. The ropes started tightening, pulling them from both ends. Don't worry, Krusty said, these are stretching jobs. Maybe 3 extra inches on your spines. You all might even live. Why you're real, name's not Krusty, is it? Percy asked. Legally, it's Procrusts, he admitted. T the stretcher, Annabeth said. They remembered the story, the giant who tried to kill Theseus with excess hospitality on his way to Athens. Yeah, the salesman said. But who can pronounce Procrusts? Bad for business. Now, Krusty, anybody can say that. He looked at them. Now, time for stretch. Sorry, Naruto's voice said behind him. But we don't have time. He cut his head off with a sword. Krusty's body turned into dust. Then he looked at them and cut the ropes on the beds. Percy, Annabeth and Grover got to their feet, groaning and wincing. You look taller, Naruto said to them. Very funny, Annabeth said. Be faster next time. Naruto looked at the bulletin board behind Krusty's sales desk. There was an advertisement for Hermes delivery service, and another for the all-new compendium of LA. Area monsters, the only monstrous yellow pages you'll ever need. Under that, a bright orange flyer for DOA recording studios, offering commissions for heroes' souls. We are always looking for new talent. DOA's address was right underneath with a map. Let's go, Naruto said. Give us a minute, Grover complained. We were almost stretched to death. Then hurry up, Naruto said. Percy asked, why? Because we are going to hell, Naruto said. They stood in the shadows of Valencia Boulevard, looking up at gold letters etched in black marble, DOARECORDINGSTUDIS. Underneath, stenciled on the glass doors, no solicitors, no loitering, no living. It was almost midnight, but the lobby was brightly lit and full of people. Behind the security desk sat a tough-looking guard with sunglasses and an earpiece. Percy said, okay, you remember the plan. Naruto didn't say anything. The plan, Grover gulped. Yeah, I love the plan. Annabeth said, what happens if the plan doesn't work? Don't think negative. Right, she said. We're entering the land of the dead, and I shouldn't think negative. Percy took the pearls out of his pocket, the 3 milky spheres the Nereid had given him in Santa Monica. They didn't seem like much of a backup if something went wrong. I'm here, so don't worry, all will be fine, Naruto said. Annabeth put her hand on Percy's shoulder. I'm sorry, Percy. You're right, we'll make it. She gave Grover a nudge. Oh, right, he chimed in. We got this far. We'll find the Master Bolt and save your mom. No problem. Percy looked to his friends and smiled, thanks guys. He felt eternally grateful to them. Percy, Naruto called. Percy looked at him. Don't do anything stupid and keep your mouth shut, he said to him and walked inside. I completely agree with him, Annabeth said as she and Grover followed Naruto. Hey, Percy shouted. In the DOA lobby music played softly on hidden speakers. The carpet and walls were steel gray. Pencil cactuses grew in the corners like skeleton hands. The furniture was black leather, and every seat was taken. There were people sitting on couches, people standing up, people staring out the windows or waiting for the elevator. Nobody moved, or talked, or did much of anything. If you looked at them directly, you would see that they were transparent. The security guard was tall and elegant, with chocolate-colored skin and bleached blonde hair shaved military style. He wore tortoiseshell shades and a silk Italian suit that matched his hair. A black rose was pinned to his lapel under a silver name tag. Percy read the name tag, and then looked at him in bewilderment. Your name is Chiron. He opened his big mouth again. Naruto though. Guard leaned across the desk. Percy couldn't see anything in his glasses except his own reflection, but his smile was sweet and cold, like a python, right before it eats you. What a precious young lad. He had a strange accent, British, if he had learned English as a second language. Tell me, mate, do I look like a centaur? Percy shuddered. No. Sir, he added smoothly. Sir, Percy said. He pinched the name tag and ran his finger under the letters. Can you read this, mate? It says Charon. Say it with me, Charon. Charon. Amazing. Now, Mr. Charon. Mr. Charon, Percy said. Well done. He sat back. I hate being confused with that old horseman. And now, how may I help you little dead ones? His question caught Percy off guard. He looked at Annabeth for support. We want to go the Underworld, she said. Charon's mouth twitched. Well, that's refreshing. It is, she asked. Straightforward and honest. No screaming. No. There must be a mistake, Mr. Charon. He looked at them. How did you die, then? Percy nudged Grover. Oh, he said. Drowned, in the bathtub. All three of you? Charon asked. Wait, three. They thought. They saw Naruto wasn't there, but they nodded. Big bathtub, Percy said. Charon looked mildly impressed. I don't suppose you have coins for passage. Normally, with adults, you see, I could charge your American Express, or add the ferry price to your last cable bill. But with children, alas, you never die prepared. Suppose you'll have to take a seat for a few centuries. Oh, but we have coins. Percy set 3 golden drachmas on the counter, part of the stash they had found in Krusty's office desk. Well, now. Charon moistened his lips. Real drachmas. Real golden drachmas. I haven't seen these in. His fingers hovered greedily over the coins. They were so close. Then suddenly Charon looked at Percy. Here now, he said. You couldn't read my name correctly. Are you dyslexic, lad? No, Percy said. I'm dead. Charon leaned forward and took a sniff. You're not dead. I should have known. You're a godling. We have to get to the Underworld, Percy insisted. Charon made a growling sound deep in his throat. Immediately, all the people in the waiting room got up and started pacing, agitated, lighting cigarettes, running hands through their hair, or checking their wristwatches. Leave while you can, Charon told them. I'll just take these and forget I saw you. Hello Charon, I want to see my dear dad, Naruto said as he came out of shadow. His cold red eyes were sparkling with power. The spirits of the dead started moving away from him in fear. Why yes, you can come in, Charon said, but they would have to go back. Take this, Naruto said as he threw the small bag toward Charon. Charon caught the bag and said, what is this? He opened up the bag and saw it was filled with golden drachmas. This would be yours, Naruto said as bag disappeared in darkness. If you. I know, Charon said. He stood up and turned to Percy, Annabeth and Grover. Come along. He escorted them into the elevator, which was already crowded with the souls of the dead, each one holding a green boarding pass. Charon grabbed 2 spirits who were trying to get on with them and pushed them back into the lobby. Right. Now, no one gets any ideas while I'm gone, he announced to the waiting room. And if anyone moves the dial off my easy listening station again, I'll make sure you're here for another 1,000 years. Understand? He shut the doors. He put a key card into a slot in the elevator panel and they started to descend. What happens to the spirits waiting in the lobby? Annabeth asked. Nothing, Charon said. For how long? Forever, or until I'm feeling generous. Oh, she said. That's fair. Charon raised an eyebrow. Whoever said death was fair, young miss? Wait until it's your turn. You'll die soon enough, where you're going. We'll get out alive, Percy said. Ha. Naruto didn't comment on it. He felt they weren't going down anymore, but forward. The air turned misty. Spirits around them started changing shape. Their modern clothes flickered, turning into gray hooded robes. The floor of the elevator began swaying. Percy blinked hard. When he opened his eyes, Charon's creamy Italian suit had been replaced by a long black robe. His tortoiseshell glasses were gone. Where his eyes should have been were empty sockets, like Ares's eyes, except Charon's were totally dark, full of night and death and despair. Charon saw him looking, and said, "Well, nothing," he managed. He saw the flesh of Charon's face was becoming transparent, letting him see straight through to his skull. The floor kept swaying. Grover said, "I think I'm getting seasick." Percy noticed the elevator wasn't an elevator anymore. They were standing on a wooden barge. Charon was poling them across a dark, oily river, swirling with bones, dead fish, and other, stranger things, plastic dolls, crushed carnations, and soggy diplomas with gilt edges. "The river sticks," Annabeth murmured. "It's so polluted," Charon said. "For thousands of years, you humans have thrown in everything as you come across, hopes, dreams, wishes that never came true. Irresponsible waste management, if you ask me." "I will meet you in the underworld," Naruto said. They looked at him. He was wearing black pant, black shirt, metal arm guards, fingerless gloves, and black boots with spikes. He also had red-black customized armor over his shirt and black cloak with hood. Next to him standing was large black raven with white highlight. Naruto climbed on the raven and started to fly up. "See you later," he said. "Let's go, Case." With sonic boom they fluttered away from there. "Hey," Charon shouted. "Who is going to pay me now?" Annabeth, Percy and Grover looked at each other. "Ask Naruto, when you will see him next time," Annabeth said. Percy said, "Don't worry. I'll talk to Hades about your pay raise." Zero with Naruto. Zero. Naruto saw Underworld from above. It had craggy rocks and black volcanic sand stretched inland about 100 yards to the base of a high stone wall, which marched off in either direction as far as he could see. "Down, Case," Naruto ordered, and they landed down on the ground. "You can go now," he said to Case, and Raven disappeared in shadow. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique," Naruto said, and single clone appeared beside him. He threw a bag of golden drachmas toward him. "Stay here and give this to Charon." Clone caught the bag and said, "Yes, boss." Naruto followed the spirits up a well-worn path. Zero with Percy and other Zero. They heard sound coming from somewhere nearby in the green gloom, echoing off the stones, the howl of a large animal. "All three faces hungry," Charon said. His smile turned skeletal in the greenish light. "Bad luck for you, godling." The bottom of their boat slid onto the black sand. The dead began to disembark. A woman holding a little girl's hand. An old man and an old woman hobbling along arm in arm. A boy no older than Percy was, shuffling silently along with his gray robe. "Now where's my money?" Charon asked them. Suddenly clone Naruto appeared there. "Take this," he said as he threw the small bag toward him. Charon caught the bag and said, "I'd wish you luck, mate, but there isn't any down here." Then he turned to Percy, "Mind you, don't forget to mention my pay raise." Percy nodded. He counted golden coins, and then took up his pole. He warbled something that sounded like a Barry Manilow song as he ferried the empty barge back across the river. "Let's go. Boss is waiting for us," clone Naruto said. "Boss?" Annabeth asked. "I'm a clone." They followed him. They were expecting pearly gates, or a big black portcullis, or something. But the entrance to the underworld looked like a cross between airport security and the Jersey Turnpike. There were 3 separate entrances under one huge black archway that said you are now entering Erebus. Each entrance had a pass-through metal detector with security cameras mounted on top. Beyond this were toll booths manned by black-robed ghouls like Charon. The howling of the hungry animal was really loud now, but they couldn't see where it was coming from. The 3-headed dog, Cerberus, who was supposed to guard Hades's door, was nowhere to be seen. The dead queued up in the 3 lines, 2 marked attendant on duty, and 1 marked EZ death. The EZ death line was moving right along. The other 2 were crawling. "The fast line is straight to the Asphodel Fields," clone Naruto said to them. "No contest. They don't want to risk judgment from the court, because it might go against them." Percy asked, "There's a court for dead people?" "Yeah. 3 judges. They switch around who sits on the bench. King Minos, Thomas Jefferson, and Shakespeare, people like that. Sometimes they look at a life and decide that person needs a special reward, the Fields of Elysium. Sometimes they decide on punishment. But most people, well, they just lived. Nothing special, good or bad. So they go to the asphodel fields, Annabeth answered his question. And do what? Grover said, imagine standing in a wheat field in Kansas. Forever. Harsh, Percy said. Not as harsh as that, Grover muttered. Look. A couple of black-robed ghouls had pulled aside one spirit and were frisking him at the security desk. The face of the dead man looked vaguely familiar. He's that preacher who made the news, remember? Grover asked. Oh, yeah. Percy had remembered now. They had seen him on TV a couple of times at the Yancey Academy dorm. He was this annoying televangelist from upstate New York who'd raised millions of dollars for orphanages and then got caught spending the money on stuff for his mansion, like gold-plated toilet seats, and an indoor putt-putt golf course. He died in a police chase when his Lamborghini for the Lord went off a cliff. Percy said, what are they doing to him? Special punishment from my father, clone Naruto guessed. The really bad people get his personal attention as soon as they arrive. The Furies will set up an eternal torture for him. The thought of the Furies made Percy shudder. He realized he was in their home territory now. Old Mrs. Dodds would be licking her lips with anticipation. But if he's a preacher, Percy said, and he believes in a different hell. Quote. Grover shrugged. Who says he's seen this place the way we're seeing it? Humans see what they want to see. You're very stubborn, persistent, that way. Let's go, clone Naruto said. Don't waste the time here. They got closer to the gates. The howling was so loud now it shook the ground at their feet, but they still couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Then, about 50 feet in front of them, the green mist shimmered. Standing just where the path split into 3 lanes was an enormous shadowy monster. They hadn't seen it before because it was half transparent, like the dead. Until it moved, it blended with whatever was behind it. Only its eyes and teeth looked solid. And it was staring straight at them. Percy's jaw hung open. He's a Rottweiler, he shouted. Keep your voice down, Percy, clone Naruto said. It can smell the living. Sorry, Percy said. He looked at Cerberus. He always imagined it as a big black mastiff. But he was obviously purebred Rottweiler, except of course that he was twice the size of a woolly mammoth, mostly invisible, and had 3 heads. The dead walked right up to him, no fear at all. The attendant on duty lines parted on either side of him. The EZ death spirits walked right between his front paws and under his belly, which they could do without even crouching. I'm starting to see him better, Percy muttered. Why is that? I think. Annabeth moistened her lips. I'm afraid it's because we're getting closer to being dead. Grover asked, what to do now? Don't worry. I have a plan. Clone Naruto said. They moved toward the monster. The middle head snarled at him, then barked loudly. Sit boy, someone said, and Cerberus licked his 3 sets of lips, shifted on his haunches, and sat, immediately crushing a dozen spirits who'd been passing underneath him in the EZ death line. The spirits made muffled hisses as they dissipated, like the air let out of tires. They saw real Naruto was standing on the top of Cerberus' middle head. He jumped from head and landed on the ground safely. Good boy, he said and patted his middle head. He turned to his clone. You know what to do. The clone nodded and he summoned a big red rubber ball. See the ball. You want the ball, Cerberus. Let's go. This will keep him busy, Naruto said. Don't worry about security system. I have already disbanded it. They pushed through the metal detector and raced into the underworld. They rounded a corner, the 4 of them stopped to gawk at the fields of asphodel. Its black grass had been trampled by eons of dead feet. A warm, moist wind blew like the breath of a swamp. Black trees, Grover told them they were poplars, grew in clumps here and there. The cavern ceiling was so high above them it might have been a bank of storm clouds, except for the stalactites, which glowed faint gray and looked wickedly pointed. Percy tried not to imagine they'd fall on them at any moment, but dotted around the fields were several that had fallen and impaled themselves in the black grass. Annabeth, Grover, Naruto and Percy tried to blend into the crowd. Percy couldn't help looking for familiar faces among the spirits of asphodel, but the dead are hard to look at. Their face shimmer. They all looked slightly angry or confused. They will come up to you and speak, but their voices sound like chatter, like bats twittering. Once they realize you can't understand them, they frown and move away. The dead aren't scary. They're just sad. They crept along, after the line of new arrivals that snaked from the main gates toward a black-tented pavilion with a banner that read, Judgments for Elysium and Eternal Damnation. Welcome, newly deceased. Out the back of the tent came 2 smaller lines. To the left, spirits flanked by security ghouls were marched down a rocky path toward the fields of punishment, which glowed and smoked in the distance, a vast, cracked wasteland with rivers of lava and minefields and miles of barbed wire separating the different torture areas. Even from far away, they could see people being chased by hellhound, burned at the stake, forced to run naked through cactus patches or listen to opera music. They could just make out a tiny hill, with the ant-sized figure of Sisyphus struggling to move his boulder to the top. And they saw worse tortures, too, things they don't want to describe. The line coming from the right side of the Judgment Pavilion was much better. This one led down to a small valley surrounded by walls, a gated community, which seemed to be the only happy part of the Underworld. Beyond the security gate were neighborhoods of beautiful houses from every time period in history, Roman villas and medieval castles and Victorian mansions. Silver and gold flowers bloomed on the lawns. The grass rippled in rainbow colors. They could hear laughter and smell barbecue cooking. Elysium. In the middle of that valley was a glittering blue lake, with 3 small islands like a vacation resort in the Bahamas. The Isles of the Blessed, for people who had chosen to be reborn 3 times, and 3 times achieved Elysium. Annabeth said, "That's the place for heroes." Percy thought of how few people there were in Elysium, how tiny it was compared to the fields of asphodel or even the fields of punishment. So few people did good in their lives. It was depressing. They left the Judgment Pavilion and moved deeper into the asphodel fields. It got darker. The colors faded from their clothes. The crowds of chattering spirits began to thin. After a few miles of walking, they began to hear a familiar screech in the distance. Looming on the horizon was a palace of glittering black obsidian. Above the parapet swirled 3 dark bats-like creatures, the Furies. "They are waiting for us," Annabeth said. "I will handle them," Naruto said. "So don't do anything stupid. Maybe we should search some of the other places first," Grover suggested. "Like Elysium, for instance." "Come on, goat boy." Annabeth grabbed his arm. Grover yelped. His sneakers sprouted wings and his legs shot forward, pulling him away from Annabeth. He landed flat on his back in the grass. "Grover," Annabeth chided. "Stop messing around." "And what I told you, don't do anything stupid," Naruto said. "But I didn't," he yelped again. His shoes were flapping like crazy now. They levitated off the ground and started dragging him away from them. "Maya," he yelled, but the magic word seemed to have no effect. "Maya, already. 911. Help." Percy got over being stunned and made a grab for Grover's hand, but too late. He was picking up speed, skidding downhill like a bobsled. He and Annabeth ran after him. Annabeth shouted, "Untie the shoes." Grover tried to sit up, but he couldn't get close to the laces. They kept after him, trying to keep him in sight as he ripped between the legs of spirits who chatted at him in annoyance. Idiot. Naruto though, who was watching the whole scene. First he thought Grover was going to barrel straight through the gates of Hades' palace, but his shoes veered sharply to the right and dragged him in the opposite direction. He saw Annabeth, Percy and Grover entered some kind of a side tunnel. He sensed negative emotions coming out of the tunnel. This, Tartarus. So I do right about traitor. Because those are Percy's shoes, he narrowed his eyes and disappeared from there. Grover was sliding straight toward the edge. "Come on, Percy," Annabeth yelled, tugging at his wrist. Percy said, "But that's..." "I know," she shouted. "The place you described in your dream. But Grover's going to fall if we don't catch him." She was right, of course. Grover's predicament got him moving again. He was yelling, clawing at the ground, but the winged shoes kept dragging him toward the pit, and it didn't look like they could possibly get to him in time. The goat boy was 10 feet away from the giant hole in the ground, when Naruto suddenly appeared and caught the boy's arms. He pulled Grover back over the slope and away from the hole. The winged shoes tried to pull Grover back in the hole, but Naruto's grip was too strong for them. Annabeth and Percy came toward them. "Thank God. You are safe, Grover," Annabeth panted. Naruto said, "Untie his shoes." After removing Grover's shoes, Naruto burned them with his flame. Grover was scratched up pretty bad. His hands were bleeding. His eyes had gone slit-pupiled, goat style, the way they did whenever he was terrified. "I don't know how," he panted. "I didn't." "Wait, listen," Percy said, getting back up, even though his legs felt like lead and his backpack felt like someone had put a bunch of rocks in it. The boy heard something, a deep whisper in the darkness. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he began to hear it as well. We have to get out of here, Naruto said. This is the entrance to Tartarus. Percy shouted, what? The sound was getting louder, a muttering, evil voice from far, far below us. Coming from the pit. Grover sat up. What's that noise? Annabeth heard it too, now. They could see it as her eyes widened. The words that were being spoken seemed to be very old, a lot older than Greek. Magic, Naruto murmured. Suddenly, he created a white dome around them. Not a moment too soon. A blast of wind tried to pull them back, but it had failed because of the shield. We are going, Naruto said, and they found themselves back in the top of the tunnel, where the cavern widened out into the fields of asphodel. The wind died. A wail of outrage echoed from deep in the tunnel. Something was not happy they had gotten away. What was that? Grover asked. One of Hades' pets. No, Naruto said. Let's keep going. He looked at Grover. Can you walk? Grover swallowed. Yeah, sure. I never liked those shoes, anyway. He tried to sound brave about it, but he was trembling as badly as Annabeth and Percy were. Naruto looked back at the tunnel and then they headed toward the palace of Hades. Our three demigods and Sato were walking towards the Hades palace. They saw Furies circled the parapets, high in the gloom. The outer walls of the fortress glittered black, and the 2-story tall bronze gates stood wide open. Up close, they saw that the engravings on the gates were scenes of deaths. Some were from modern times, an atomic bomb exploding over a city, a trench filled with gas mask-wearing soldiers, a line of African famine victims waiting with empty bowls, but all of them looked as if they'd been etched into the bronze thousands of years ago. Percy wondered if he was looking at the prophecies that had come true. Inside the courtyard was the strangest garden he had ever seen. Multicolored mushrooms, poisonous shrubs, and weird luminous plants grew without sunlight. Precious jewels made up for the lack of flowers, piles of rubies as big as my fist, clumps of raw diamonds. Standing here and there like frozen party guests were Medusa's garden statues, petrified children, satyrs, and centaurs, all smiling grotesquely. In the center of the garden was an orchard of pomegranate trees, their orange blooms neon bright in the dark. The Garden of Persephone, Naruto said. Keep walking. Percy understood why Naruto wanted to move on. The tart smell of those pomegranates was almost overwhelming. He had a sudden desire to eat them, but then he remembered the story of Persephone. One bite of underworld food, and they would never be able to leave. He pulled Grover away to keep him from picking a big juicy one. They walked up the steps of the palace, between black columns, through a black marble portico, and into the house of Hades. The entry hall had a polished bronze floor, which seemed to boil in the reflected torchlight. There was no ceiling, just the cavern roof, far above. Every side doorway was guarded by a skeleton in military gear. Some wore Greek armor, some British Redcoats uniforms, some camouflage with tattered American flags on the shoulders. They carried spears or muskets or M16s. None of them bothered us, but their hollow eye sockets followed us as we walked down the hall, toward the big set of doors at the opposite end. 2 U.S. Marine skeletons guarded the doors. They grinned down at him, rocket-propelled grenade launchers held across their chests. You know, Grover mumbled, I bet Hades doesn't have trouble with door-to-door salesmen. Naruto noticed Percy's discomfort. Are you alright, Percy? Is something bothering you? Nothing. Percy lied to him. He wanted to see what had made his backpack feel like someone had put a bowling ball in it, but now was not the time. Something isn't right here. Naruto though, and he narrowed his eyes at Percy's backpack. Well, guys, Percy said. I suppose we should knock. A hot wind blew down the corridor, and the doors swung open. The guards stepped aside. I guess that means Centres Vu, Annabeth said. Percy saw the room inside looked just like in his dream, except this time the throne of Hades was occupied. He was the third god he had met, but the first who really struck him as godlike. He was at least 10 feet tall, for one thing, and dressed in black silk robes and a crown of braided gold. His skin was albino white, his hair shoulder length and jet black. He wasn't bulked up like Ares, but he radiated power. He lounged on his throne of fused human bones, looking lithe, graceful, and dangerous as a panther. He had the same kind of mesmerizing, evil charisma. Percy immediately felt like Hades should be giving the orders. He should be his master. Snap out of it, he thought. Hades' aura was affecting him, just as Ares' had. Naruto walked forward and said, Hello, father. Hades looked at Naruto with soft expression and kindness. Welcome to the Underworld, my son, he said in a slightly happy voice. Then he looked at the others and narrowed his eyes at Percy. Aren't you happy to see me? Naruto asked. I'm happy to see you, my son. You remind me of your mother, Hades said. Just like her, you're brave, powerful and cold. Thanks, Naruto said. He looked at Percy. So you do not like my companion? Yes, Hades said with a frown on his face. He looked at Percy. You are brave to come here, son of Poseidon, he said in an oily voice. After what you have done to me, very brave indeed. Or perhaps you are simply very foolish. Lord and uncle, Percy said. He was clearly affected by Hades' aura. I come with 2 requests. Hades raised an eyebrow. When he sat forward in his throne, shadowy faces appeared in the folds of his black robes, faces of torment, as if the garment were stitched of trapped souls from the fields of punishment, trying to get out. The ADHD part of Percy wondered, off task, whether the rest of his clothes were made the same way. Only 2 requests, Hades said. Arrogant child. As if you have not already taken enough. Speak, then. It amuses me not to strike you dead yet. Percy swallowed. This was going about as well as he had feared. He glanced at the empty, smaller throne next to Hades. It was shaped like a black flower, gilded with gold. I wished Queen Persephone was here, Percy thought. He recalled something in the myths about how she could calm her husband's moods. But it was summer. Of course, Persephone would be above in the world of light with her mother, the goddess of agriculture, Demeter. Her visits, not the tilt of the planet, create the seasons. Annabeth cleared her throat. Her finger prodded him in the back. Lord Hades, Percy said. Look, sir, there can't be a war among the gods. It would be bad. Really bad, Grover added helpfully. Return Zeus Master Bolt to me, Percy said. Please, sir, let me carry it to Olympus. Naruto sweat dropped their choice of words. They really don't know how to negotiate, and their choice of their words is horrible. Who are they trying to convince a small child? He looked at his father's face. Something has stolen from him. Hades' eyes grew dangerously bright. You dare keep up this pretense, after what you have done? Percy glanced back at Annabeth and Grover. They looked as confused as he was. Uncle, Percy said. You keep saying, after what you've done. What exactly have I done? The throne room shook with a tremor so strong, they probably felt it upstairs in Los Angeles. Debris fell from the cavern ceiling. Doors burst open all along the walls, and skeletal warriors marched in, hundreds of them, from every time period and nation in Western civilization. They lined the perimeter of the room, blocking the exits. Hades bellowed, Do you think I want war, Godling? Percy wanted to say, well, these guys don't look like peace activists. But he thought that might be a dangerous answer. You are the Lord of the Dead, Percy said carefully. A war would expand your kingdom, right? A typical thing for my brothers to say. Do you think I need more subjects? Did you not see the sprawl of the asphodel fields? Well, have you any idea how much my kingdom has swollen in this past century alone, how many subdivisions I've had to open? Percy opened my mouth to respond, but Hades was on a roll now. More security ghouls, he moaned. Traffic problems at the Judgment Pavilion. Double overtime for the staff. I used to be a rich god, Percy Jackson. I control all the precious metals under the earth. But my expenses. Charon wants a pay raise, Percy blurted, just remembering the fact. Idiot. Naruto though. Don't get me started on Charon. Hades yelled. He's been impossible ever since he discovered Italian suits. Problems everywhere and I've got to handle all of them personally. The commute time alone from the palace to the gates is enough to drive me insane. And the dead just keep arriving. No, Godling. I need no help getting subjects. I did not ask for this war. But you took the Zeus Master Bolt. Lies. More rumbling. Hades rose from his throne, towering to the height of a football goalpost. Your father may fool Zeus, boy, but I am not so stupid. I see his plan. What is stolen from you, father? Naruto asked suddenly. Hades looked at his son and said, My helm. My helm of darkness. You think he stole it? Naruto said. I'm absolutely sure about it, Hades said. Percy said, but, shut up. You were the thief on the winter solstice, he said. Your father thought to keep you his little secret. He directed you into the throne room on Olympus. You took the Master Bolt and my helm. Had I not sent my fury to discover you at Yanxi Academy, Poseidon might have succeeded in hiding his scheme to start a war. But now you have been forced into the open. You will be exposed as Poseidon's thief, and I will have my helm back. But, Annabeth spoke. Percy could tell her mind was going a million miles an hour. Lord Hades. Do not play innocent with me, girl. You and the satyr have been helping this hero, coming here to threaten me in Poseidon's name, no doubt, to bring me an ultimatum. Does Poseidon think I can be blackmailed into supporting him? Hades looked at Naruto. And you came here with my son so you could get here. No, Percy said. Poseidon didn't, I didn't. I have said nothing of the helm's disappearance, Hades snarled, because I had no illusions that anyone on Olympus would offer me the slightest justice, the slightest help. I can ill afford for word to get out that my most powerful weapon of fear is missing. So I searched for you myself, and when it was clear you were coming to me to deliver your threat, I did not try to stop you. You didn't try to stop us. But, return my helm now, or I will stop death, Hades threatened. That is my counter-proposal. I will open the earth and have the dead pour back into the world. I will make your lands a nightmare. And you, Percy Jackson, your skeleton will lead my army out of Hades. The skeletal soldiers all took one step forward, making their weapons ready. Now, Percy was angry because he was being accused of something he hadn't done. He had a lot of experience with that. You're as bad as Zeus, Percy said. You think I stole from you. That's why you sent the Furies after me. Of course, Hades said. And the other monsters. Hades curled his lip. I had nothing to do with them. I wanted no quick death for you. I wanted you brought before me alive so you might face every torture in the fields of punishment. Why do you think I let you enter my kingdom so easily? Easily. Return my property. But I don't have your helm. I came for the Master Bolt. Which you already possess. Hades shouted. You came here with it, little fool, thinking you threaten me. But I didn't. Open your pack, then. A horrible feeling struck Percy. He slung backpack off his shoulder and unzipped it. Inside was a 2-foot-long metal cylinder, spiked on both ends, humming with energy. Master Bolt. So this is the strange energy I have sensed from his backpack. Naruto narrowed his eyes at this. Someone must be having removed the protective magic around it, but question is, why now? Percy, Annabeth said. How? I don't know. I don't understand. You heroes are always the same, Hades said. Your pride makes you foolish, thinking you could bring such a weapon before me. I did not ask for Zeus's Master Bolt, but since it is here, you will yield it to me. I am sure it will make an excellent bargaining tool. Percy was speechless. He had no idea how the Master Bolt had gotten into his backpack. He wanted to think Hades was pulling some kind of trick. I don't think it is a good idea, Naruto spoke suddenly in between them. Hades asked, what do you mean? If you killed him, your brother, Poseidon will not be happy about, Naruto said. Hades scoffed at this. Also someone is framing him. This is not his backpack. This is. Lord Hades, wait, Percy yelled suddenly. This is all a mistake. Idiot. Naruto though, let me finish my sentence. Hades forgot his son's words. A mistake. He roared angrily. The skeletons aimed their weapons at Percy, Annabeth and Grover. From high above, there was a fluttering of leathery wings, and the three Furies swooped down to perch on the back of their master's throne. The one with Mrs. Dodds's face grinned at Percy eagerly and flicked her whip. There is no mistake, Hades said. I know why you have come. I know the real reason you brought the bolt. You came to bargain for her. Hades loosed a ball of gold fire from his palm. It exploded on the steps in front of him. Percy saw his mother, frozen in a shower of gold, just as she was at the moment when the Minotaur began to squeeze her to death. He reached out to touch her, but the light was as hot as a bonfire. Yes, Hades said with satisfaction. I took her. I knew, Percy Jackson, that you would come to bargain with me eventually. Return my helm, and perhaps I will let her go. She is not dead, you know. Not yet. But if you displease me, that will change. He thought about the pearls in his pocket. Maybe they could get me out of this. If I could just get my mom free. Ah, the pearls, Hades said, and Percy's blood froze. Yes, my brother and his little tricks. Bring 'em forth, Percy Jackson. Percy's hand moved against his will and brought out the pearls. Only 3, Hades said. What a shame. You do realize each only protects a single person. My son doesn't need them. Try to take your mother, then, little godling. And which of your friends will you leave behind to spend eternity with me? Go on. Choose. Or give me the backpack and accept my terms. Percy looked at Annabeth and Grover. Their faces were grim. Then he looked at Naruto, who was standing beside Hades, who displayed no emotion. We were tricked, Percy told them. Set up. Yes, but why? Annabeth asked. I don't know, Percy said. Decide, boy, Hades yelled. Percy. Grover put his hand on his shoulder. You can't give him the bolt. I know that. Leave me here, he said. Use the third pearl on your mom. No. I'm a satyr, Grover said. We don't have souls like humans do. He can torture me until I die, but he won't get me forever. I'll just be reincarnated as a flower or something. It's the best way. No. Annabeth drew her bronze knife. You two go on. Grover, you have to protect Percy. You have to get your searcher's license and start your quest for Pan. Get his mom out of here. I'll cover you. I plan to go down fighting. This is enough, all of you. Naruto said, who suddenly appeared in front of them. Percy takes Annabeth and Grover with you. And don't worry about your mother, I will save her. Grover said, but Naruto is right, Percy said. Take these. He turned and faced his mother. He desperately wanted to sacrifice himself and use the last pearl on her, but he knew what she would say. She would never allow it. He had to get the bolt back to Olympus and tell Zeus the truth. He had to stop the war. She would never forgive him if he saved her instead. He thought about the prophecy made at Half-Blood Hill, what seemed like 1,000,000 years ago. You will fail to save what matters most in the end. I'm sorry, Percy said to his mother. The smug look on the Hades face faded. He said, Godling. I'll find your helm, uncle, Percy said to him. I'll return it. Remember about Charon's pay raise. Do not defy me. Now, guys, Percy shouted. They smashed the pearls at our feet. For a scary moment, nothing happened. Hades yelled, destroy them. The army of skeletons rushed forward, swords out, guns clicking to full automatic. The Furies lunged, their whips bursting into flame. Sorry father, but you can't do that, Naruto said as a black fire appeared from nowhere and made a protective shield around them. Because you will have to pass me. Shield expanded and destroyed few skeletons solider. Remaining skeletons solider and the Furies took a step back in fear. Thanks Naruto, Annabeth said as the pearl fragments at their feet exploded with a burst of green light, a gust of fresh sea wind. They were encased in a milky white sphere, which was starting to float off the ground. Naruto made gesture, his hand and shield disappeared. He heard their screams as the bubbles slammed into the ceiling. They disappeared. Son, why? Hades asked. His army disappeared in black smoke. Percy is not a thief. Someone is framing him, Naruto said. If you killed him, then Poseidon will be mad at you for killing him. You will have the Zeus Master Bolt, so Zeus will be angry at you. Take my point. So someone is trying to start a war between the gods, a female voice said. Naruto looked at voice direction and saw a 19-year-old girl. Her left side was black and hardened like a mummy, to represent her father. Her right side is pale and chalky as if she were drained of all her blood. She was wearing a golden dress and a golden shawl, and her eyes were empty black voids. Who are you? He asked her. I'm Melino, goddess of ghosts and your stepsister, little brother. She walked toward him and held out her hand for a shake. Naruto shook her hand, and said, nice to meet you. Melino tried to trap him under her illusion. Don't bother, illusion is my strong point. They don't work on me. His eyes morphed into the blood-red Sharingan. He disappeared in murder of crows and reappeared front of his father. Well, it is good to know, my little brother has same hobby like me, Melino said as she appeared beside Naruto. Thanks, I have many types illusion that can easily kill the people or could make them completely mad. If you want I can share them with you, Naruto said with a smirk. You know what, this is a good start for our relationship, Melino said. In return I will teach you my some illusion. Hades' sweat dropped at his children's behavior. Ahem. He did cough slightly to get their attention. Yes, they said at the same time. You two can talk about it later, he said and turned his attention toward Naruto. Naruto, how are you so sure about it? Because it was Ares, who gave Percy that backpack, Naruto said. You mean Ares is a thief? Hades asked. No, It was Ares who had given his backpack, but the thief is different. Do you know who the thief is? Yes, I know. Who is he? Hades said angrily. Don't worry about him, I will handle him. Very well, Hades said. But I couldn't just sit here. I don't care Poseidon's son is a thief or not. I will have to show them, they can't take Hades' warning lightly. Then he spoke in a serious tone. If my helm didn't return to me, I would stop the deaths. I will open the earth and have the dead pour back into the world. I will make lands a nightmare. Is he always like this? Naruto asked his half-sister. Melino answered, yes. Zero with Percy and other Zero. A Coast Guard boat picked Annabeth, Percy and Grover up, but they were too busy to keep them for long, or to wonder how 3 kids in street clothes had gotten out into the middle of the bay. There was a disaster to mop up. Their radios were jammed with distress calls. They dropped them off at the Santa Monica pier with towels around their shoulders and water bottles that said I'm a junior Coast Guard. And sped off to save more people. Their clothes were sopping wet, even Percy's. He was also barefoot, because he had given them to Grover, hoping no one saw the goat boy's hooves. After reaching dry land, they stumbled down the beach, watching the city burn against a beautiful sunrise. Percy felt as if he had just come back from the dead, which they did. He felt his backpack was heavy with Zeus's master bolt and his heart was even heavier from seeing his mother. I don't believe it, Annabeth said. We went all that way. It was a trick, Percy said. A strategy worthy of Athena. Hey, she warned. You get it, don't you? She dropped her eyes, her anger fading. Yeah, I get it. Well, I don't. Grover complained. Would somebody? Percy. Annabeth said. I'm sorry about your mother. I'm so sorry. Percy said, it's okay. Naruto is in the underworld. I'm sure, he will save my mother. I hope so. Yes, he is Naruto. He can do anything, Annabeth said. The prophecy was right, Percy said. You shall go west and face the god who has turned. But it wasn't Hades. Hades didn't want war among the big 3. Someone else pulled off the theft. Someone stole Zeus's master bolt, and Hades' helm, and framed me because I'm Poseidon's kid. Poseidon will get blamed by both sides. By sundown today, there will be a 3-way war. And I'll have caused it. Grover shook his head, mystified. But who would be that sneaky? Who would want war that bad? Percy stopped in his tracks, looking down the beach. Gee, let me think. Then they saw Ares waiting for them, in his black leather duster and his sunglasses, an aluminum baseball bat propped on his shoulder. His motorcycle rumbled beside him, its headlight turning the sand red. Hey, kid, he said, seeming genuinely pleased to see Percy. You were supposed to die. In this, they didn't notice a black raven, who was watching them from a distance. Zero in Underworld Zero. This is a unique way to use your summon, Melino said as she, Naruto and Hades were watching Percy on the large screen. Thanks, Naruto said and he turned his head toward his father. What do you think? You're right, son, Hades said. He looked at Ares. I always thought Ares has power not brain, but this. A strategy worthy of Athena. Naruto said, I don't think Ares is mastermind. Then who? Hades asked. Is it a thief you were talking about? No, Naruto said. You know him personally. If gods weaken each other in a war, what do you think, who will gain everything? You mean father? Hades asked. Yes, Naruto said. He looked at Percy and Ares. How do you contact with the Olympus? He asked his father. Why, I'm going to take the page from Hephaestus' book, Naruto said. I'm going to expose Ares to whole Olympus and Half-Blood Camp. I like that plan, little brother, Melino said. Zero in Half-Blood Camp Zero. Chiron was watching his students, who were doing the daily training and Mr. D was lazily sitting there. Do you think they will succeed in their quest? Chiron asked. Who? Mr. D said lazily. Chiron said, Mr. D. Whatever, Mr. D said. I don't care. Chiron, Clarice shouted as she ran toward him. Yes, Chiron said. They are fighting again. Who? Their conversation was cut off, when a bright light started to come from Mr. D's pocket. Chiron asked, what is this? Naruto's gift, Mr. D said as he took small pearl from his pocket. Suddenly it transformed into a big crystal ball and with bright flash a big screen appeared front of them. Ares was taking to Annabeth, Percy and Grover. The Helm of Darkness, Grover gasped. Exactly, Ares said. Now where was I? Oh yeah, Hades will be mad at both Zeus and Poseidon, because he doesn't know who took this. Pretty soon, we got a nice little three-way slugfest going. Father is a thief, Clarus shouted. Now this is interesting, Mr. D said. I wish I will be in the Olympus. I want to see my father's face after seeing this. Suddenly lightning flashed and thunder boomed. I think he saw this. Zero with Talia. Zero. Talia was sitting alone on the floor and she was thinking about Naruto, Annabeth and Grover. I wish they were all right, she thought. I know Naruto will keep his promise. He will protect them. Just I want to know that what is happening there. Suddenly her necklace started to shine and then a screen opened front of him. She saw Annabeth, Grover, Ares and I think he is Percy, Talia said to herself. Ares and Percy were taking each other, and Ares had Helm of Darkness in between the handlebars of his bike. You gave me the backpack in Denver, Percy said. The Master Bolt was in there whole time. Yes and no, Ares said. It's probably too complicated for your little mortal brain to follow, but the backpack is the Master Bolt's sheath, just morphed a bit. The bolt is connected to it, sort of like that sword you got, kid. It always returns to your pocket, right? Ares is a thief, Talia said in surprised tone. And where is Naruto? Zero in the Mount Olympus. Zero. Hera reappeared in the throne room of Olympus and looked around. All of the gods other than Dionysus, Hades, Ares and Apollo were there. Dionysus since he had his responsibilities at the camp and Hades since he was not very welcomed on Olympus. She had no clue where Apollo and Ares were. Then she heard Zeus and Poseidon once again arguing over Master Bolt. I know you have it. Just give it back to me. Zeus shouted. I don't have it. Poseidon shouted. You are blaming me because Mother Rhea is with you and you are her favorite. How Mother has come all in this, Zeus said. For your kind information it is not true. It is true. You are always her favorite, Poseidon said. Mama's boy. What? Zeus shouted. Take that back, you seaweed. Mama's boy. Seaweed. They are arguing like kids, Hera said to herself. I'm completely agreed with you, someone said from behind her. Hera turned back and saw Hestia. Hestia looked at her brother. Why can't they behave like their age? She said. Their argument has always ended up with Mother Rhea, Hera said. Will you two shut up? Hestia shouted. Hestia, don't come in between us, Zeus shouted at her. Now, why you are shouting at her? Poseidon said. Mama's boy. Pops. Apollo shouted as he appeared in the throne room. Don't shout Apollo, Zeus said. Don't you see we are discussing in some important matter? Yeah right, Hestia muttered to herself. But Pops, this is important, Apollo said. See this. He made gestures with his hand and a screen opened front of them. On screen, Ares was taking with two demigods and one satyr. Ares said, I tinkered with the magic a bit, so the bolt would only return to the sheath once you reached the underworld. You get close to Hades. Bingo, you got mail. If you died along the way, no loss. I still had the weapon. I told you, it isn't my son, who has stolen your bolt, Poseidon said. Now you know the thief is Ares, your son. Zeus was trembling with anger. His eyes were becoming pure white and electricity started to come out from his body. Ares, you traitor, he shouted. Zero few minutes earlier, with Ares and Percy. Zero. You tricked me, Percy said. You stole the helm and the master bolt. Ares grinned. Well, now, I didn't steal them personally. Gods taking each other's symbols of power, that's a big no-no. But you're not the only hero in the world who can run errands. Who did you use? Clarus. She was there at the winter solstice. The idea seemed to amuse Ares. Doesn't matter. The point is, kid, you're impeding the war effort. See, you've got to die in the underworld. Then old Seaweed will be mad at Hades for killing you. Corpse Breath will have the Zeus's master bolt, so Zeus will be mad at him. And Hades is still looking for this. From his pocket he took out a ski cap, the kind bank robbers wear, and placed it between the handlebars of his bike. Immediately, the cap transformed into an elaborate bronze war helmet. The Helm of Darkness, Grover gasped. Exactly, Ares said. Now where was I? Oh yeah, Hades will be mad at both Zeus and Poseidon, because he doesn't know who took this. Pretty soon, we got a nice little three-way slugfest going. But they're your family. Annabeth protested. Ares shrugged. Best kind of war. Always the bloodiest. Nothing like watching your relatives fight, I always say. You gave me the backpack in Denver, Percy said. The master bolt was in there whole time. Zero in Underworld. Zero. Interesting, Naruto said. Yes, Hades said. That must be Master Bolt Sheath, who has transformed into a backpack by Ares, but the bolt is still connected to it. He must be tinkered it with the magic, so the bolt would only return to the sheath once Percy reached the Underworld, Naruto said. Hades nodded. They heard the Ares' same explanation. Then they noticed Ares' strange behavior, when Percy asked him, why he didn't keep the bolt to himself. Father, did you notice? Naruto asked. If you mean Ares' strange behavior, then yes, Hades said. Like someone is controlling him. Zero back to Percy Zero. Ares' face cleared. I didn't want the trouble. Better to have you caught red-handed, holding the thing. You're lying, Percy said. Sending the bolt to the Underworld wasn't your idea, was it? Of course it was. Smoke drifted up from his sunglasses, as if they were about to catch fire. You didn't order the theft, Percy guessed. Someone else sent a hero to steal the two items. Then, when Zeus sent you to hunt him down, you caught the thief. But you didn't turn him over to Zeus. Something convinced you to let him go. You kept the items until another hero could come along and complete the delivery. That thing in the pit is ordering you around. I am the god of war. I take orders from no one. Ares shouted. Then he somehow calmed down. Let's get back to the problem at hand, kid. You're alive. I can't have you taking that bolt to Olympus. You just might get those hard-headed idiots to listen to you. So I've got to kill you. Nothing personal, and this time Hades kid is not here to save you. He snapped his fingers. The sand exploded at his feet and out charged a wild boar, even larger and uglier than the one whose head hung above the door of cabin 7 at Camp Half-Blood. The beast pawed the sand, glaring at Percy with beady eyes as it lowered its razor-sharp tusks and waited for the command to kill. Percy stepped into the surf. Fight me yourself, Ares. Zero in the Mount Olympus Zero. Your son is brave or the biggest idiot, because he is challenging the god for straight fight, Athena said. Then what do you think about your daughter? Who is there with him? Poseidon said. She is your daughter. What is her name? Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt, asked Athena. Annabeth, her name is Annabeth, Athena said sadly. Then where is the son of the Hades? Zeus asked. He is with his father in the Underworld. I only gave 3 pearls to Percy, because I know he didn't need it. Ah, that is sad. I want to see him. I heard from my daughter, he is handsome, Aphrodite said. Have you no shame? He is just kid. Artemis said. You are not interested in the men, it's not mean I am not, and I am thinking about future, when he will become one handsome hunk. Aphrodite said. She will never change, Hephaestus muttered to himself. Shush. Apollo said, watch the show. Zero with Percy Zero. Ares laughed. You've only got one talent, kid, running away. You ran from the Chimera. You ran from the Underworld. You don't have what it takes. Scared. In your adolescent dreams. But his sunglasses were starting to melt from the heat of his eyes. No direct involvement. Sorry, kid. You're not at my level. Annabeth said, Percy, run. Percy ignored her. The giant boar charged at him. No more, he thought. As the boar rushed Percy, he uncapped his pen and sidestepped. Riptide appeared in his hands. He slashed up. The boar's severed right tusk fell at his feet, while the disoriented animal charged into the sea. Percy shouted, wave. Immediately, a wave surged up from nowhere and engulfed the boar, wrapping around it like a blanket. The beast squealed once in terror. Then it was gone, swallowed by the sea. Zero in Half-Blood Camp Zero. Whole camps had gathered around the screen and were watching the fight. Ares' cabin's mood was little down. It was shocking to them that their father was a thief. I can't believe it. Father is a thief, Clarisse said. Believe or not, but it is true, Chiron said. Ares have been always aloof, cruel, proud, rebellious, and violent, an easily angered bully who seems to care only about fighting, Mr. D said. Someone has helped him to steal Bolt, because a god cannot usurp another god's symbol of power directly, Chiron said. He must be present at the winter solstice, but who is he? He thought. Zero with Talia Zero. Talia saw Percy had destroyed Giant Boar and now he was taunting Ares. That was interesting, but taunting Ares in the middle of battle are his foolishness. Talia said to herself. Zero back to Percy Zero. Percy turned back to Ares. Are you going to fight me now? He asked. Or are you going to hide behind another pet? Ares' face was purple with rage. Watch it, kid. I could turn you into. A cockroach, Percy said. Or a tapeworm. Yeah, I'm sure. That'd save you from getting your godly hide whipped, wouldn't it? Flames danced along the top of his glasses. Oh, man, you are really asking to be smashed into a grease spot. If I lose, turn me into anything you want. Take the bolt. If I win, the helm and the bolt are mine and you have to go away. Percy, Annabeth said. Don't do this. He's a god. He's a coward, Percy said. She swallowed. Wear this, at least. For luck. She took off her necklace, with her 5 years' worth of camp beads and the ring from her father, and tied it around his neck. Reconciliation, she said. Athena and Poseidon together. Percy said with a small blush, thanks. And take this, Grover said. He handed him a flattened tin can that he'd probably been saving in his pocket for 1,000 miles. The satyrs stand behind you. Grover. I don't know what to say. Percy stuffed the tin can in his back pocket. You all did say goodbye. Ares came to Percy, his black leather duster trailing behind him, his sword glinting like fire in the sunrise. I've been fighting for eternity, kid. My strength is unlimited and I cannot die. What have you got? A smaller ego, Percy thought. He kept his feet in the surf, backing into the water up to his ankles. He remembered Annabeth had said at the Denver diner, Ares has strength. That's all he has. Even strength has to how to wisdom sometimes. 0 in the Underworld 0. Somehow Percy was able to hold against Ares, but the look of the Ares' face, it was clear that he was just playing with him. Is he stupid? Melino asked. Did he don't know Ares is only playing with him? If Ares becomes serious, then Poseidon's son would be dead, Hades said. Naruto nodded. Then they heard Annabeth yelled cops. Karao-chan, you know what to do. Naruto said. 0 back to Percy 0. Percy. Annabeth yelled. Cops. Percy was breathing heavily, but he managed to get to his feet. He couldn't look away from Ares for fear he'd slice him in half, but out of the corner of my eye he saw red lights flashing on the shoreline boulevard. The car doors were slamming. There, officer, somebody yelled. See. A gruff cop voice, looks like that kid on TV, what the heck? That guy's armed, another cop said. Call for backup. Hey, what is this? They noticed black feathers started to fall from the sky. Someone said, I feel, and he dropped on the ground. One by one all cop began to fall on the ground. Annabeth and Grover were surprised at this. This is Naruto, Annabeth said. Grover asked, but why he isn't helping Percy? I don't know. 0 in the Mount Olympus 0. Hey, what happened with those mortals? Apollo asked. Suddenly, black feathers had begun falling from the sky on them and then they all dropped on ground. This must be Hades' kid doing. I heard he can do that, Poseidon said. But why? Zeus asked. My guess he doesn't want any mortal interface in the battle, Hera said. Hestia looked at Percy. Your son is pretty much holding against Ares. Yes, but Ares is only playing with him, Poseidon said. I wish I can help him. You can't, Zeus said. It's his battle, because he challenged Ares for battle. 0 in the Underworld 0. An illusion, Melino said. Yes, Naruto said. I don't want their interface in fight. You have an interesting power, son, Hades said. You saw nothing, father. It's only a tip of my power, Naruto said. Soon Ares will stop playing with Poseidon's son. I know, Naruto said. Then he thought something. Father, he called. Yes. He asked, do you have 0 back to Percy 0? Percy ran for his sword, scooped it up, and launched a swipe at Ares' face, only to find his blade deflected again. He stepped back toward the surf, forcing him to follow. Admit it, kid, Ares said. You got no hope. I'm just toying with you. Suddenly, Percy felt weird, like his senses were working overtime. He was wide awake, noticing every little detail. He could see where Ares was tensing. He could tell which way he would strike. At the same time, he was aware of Annabeth and Grover, 30 feet to his left. Ares roared with laughter. Now, little hero, let's you add to the barbecue. He slashed. Percy deflected his blade and got close enough to strike, tried to fake him out with a feint, but his blow was knocked aside. The waves were hitting him in the back now. Ares was up to his thighs, wading in after him. 0 in Naruto's personal dimension 0. In swirling of vortex, Naruto appeared in his personal dimension. It was looked just like Toby's. The only difference was that where Toby's dimension had held square platforms, Naruto's dimension had held different sizes of rounded platforms. He was appeared front of same Thug John. He had captured him from LA. Thug was unconscious, because of his genjutsu. It's time to fulfill your usefulness to me, Naruto said. Zero with Percy Zero. Percy felt the rhythm of the sea, the waves growing larger as the tide rolled in, and suddenly he had an idea. Little waves, he thought. And the water behind his seemed to recede. Ares came toward him, grinning confidently. Percy lowered his blade. Just little bit longer. Ares raised his sword. Now, a 6-foot wall of water smashed Ares full in the face, leaving him cursing and sputtering with a mouthful of seaweed. Percy took that chance and landed behind him with a splash and feinted toward his head, as he had done before. Ares turned in time to raise his sword, but this time he was disoriented, he didn't anticipate the trick. Percy changed direction, lunged to the side, and stabbed Riptide straight down into the water, sending the point through the god's heel. Ares roared angrily. The very sea was blasted back from him, leaving a wet circle of sand 50 feet wide. Ichor, the golden blood of the gods, flowed from a gash in the war god's boot. You! Ares roared angrily. The expression on his face was beyond hatred. It was pain, shock, complete disbelief that he'd been wounded. Playtime is over, Percy Jackson. He said as he held out his hand, palm up. In the air just inches from his hand, a fireball began to form. At first, it appeared as just a spark, but it quickly grew until it was 3 times bigger than him. This is your end. He threw the ball at them. Zero in Half-Blood Camp Zero. Ares are taking this thing too far, Mr. D said. It's my fault, I should have trained them more, Chiron said. Don't worry, Chiron. Do this next time. What are you talking? They are going to die. I don't think so, Mr. D said. You did forget someone, who has always appeared in End. Naruto, Chiron said. Zero with Talia Zero. Talia saw Fireball was heading toward her friends. Annabeth, Grover, she shouted. Naruto, you promised me, you will protect them. A single tear rolled down from her eyes. Where are you? Zero in the Mount Olympus Zero. All gods saw Fireball was heading toward Percy and his friends. Ares' Fireball was too big, it will kill them. Hephaestus said. Both Athena and Poseidon looked at their children sadly. Annabeth, Percy. Zero with Percy Zero. They saw a big fireball was heading toward them. We are going to die, Grover shouted in panic. Shut up, goat boy, Annabeth said. She was also afraid. Percy was frozen in his spot. He did try to move, but he was unable to move, because of fear. Both Annabeth and Percy heard like someone called their name. Annabeth, Percy. Percy was already feeling the heat, which was coming out from the fireball. He waited for the pain, waited, and waited, but he felt nothing. Suddenly, all of them heard a familiar voice, how many times I would have saved you. They opened their eyes and saw Naruto was holding a fireball with his left hand. En Naruto, Percy said. Naruto. Both Annabeth and Grover shouted happily. Naruto turned his head towards Ares. Hello, war god. His Sharingan spun wildly and fireball began disappearing into some kind of wrap hole. Zero with Talia Zero. Naruto, Talia said. She was happy, Naruto saved them. I know you will never forget your promise. Zero in Half-Blood Camp Zero. Naruto, Claris said. How is he holding a fireball with his hand? Chiron said. Naruto's grandmother is Amaterasu, she has possessed a black fire, which is hotter than the sun. That's why Ares' fire isn't affecting on him. He really knows how to make an entrance, Mr. D said. Zero in the Mount Olympus Zero. All gods saw the son of Hades was holding a fireball. They were surprised that someone was holding Ares with his bare hand. Both Athena and Poseidon breathed a sigh of relief. Impressive, Hera said. So this is the son of Hades, Zeus said. And yes, it's impressive. You shouldn't be surprised at his power. He is also the grandson of the Amaterasu, and great-grandson of the Chaos, Hestia said. And he is from that world, Hermes said. You mean Element's nation, Apollo said. Hermes nodded. I thought there was a war going on. War is ended 3.5 years ago, Artemis said. So who won? If we aren't facing giant monster, it means good side has won. Zero back to Naruto Zero. Well, who is here? The son of Hades, Ares said. Move out my way, it is only between me and Poseidon's son. Then you'll have to pass me, Naruto said. Ares said, as you wish. and he sent multiple fireballs toward him. Naruto didn't move from his spot. He raised his hands and a wall of sand rose from the ground, shielding him from the attack. Sand dragon. To everyone's surprise, a huge eastern dragon made out of sand rose out of the ground and gazed at Ares. It opened its maw and tried to swallow him. Ares used his godly power to knock it away from him. This is useless, he said. Time to take it up a notch, Naruto said. Ares, I have something for you. Ares looked at Naruto and saw he was making some weird hand sign. Kuchiyos, Edo Tensei, summoning, impure world reincarnation, he shouted. Suddenly a circle of symbols formed and spread outward. The ground shook as one white coffin emerged. Naruto stood proudly behind both coffin. What is this? Ares asked. A person, who is going to fight with you, Naruto said as the coffin lid fell off. Zero in the Mount Olympus Zero. What? Zeus shouted angrily. How is this possible? He is dead. My point is how he did it. Poseidon asked. It is impossible for a demigod. Believe or not, he brought him back to life, Hera said. Zero in Half-Blood Camp Zero. Impossible, Chiron said. I must be his ninja trick, Mr. D said. Whole camp looked at them with a confused face. Chiron, who is he? Charles Beckendorf, the demigod son of Hephaestus and the head of Cabin 9 asked. Yes, we also want to know, someone from Apollo's cabin asked. He is the hero from the past, Chiron said. His name is Zero. Back to Naruto and other Zero. Do you know who is he? Percy asked Annabeth and Grover. They shook their head. No, Annabeth said. I have no clue, Grover said. Then who is he? What? Ares looked really shocked. He turned to Naruto. But how? It is a complicated technique, I did learn from my enemy. Naruto said, and a person came out of the coffin. Welcome back to the land of the living. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.